But when you go to the store, when you pick up a watermelon, what do you have?
Big green watermelon.
Big green watermelon. You cut the meat open inside. You open it up. It's red, right? But if you start growing on your own, you have like a yellow meat watermelon. You have this one here, which is like a tender sweet, which is an orange sort of meat colored watermelon. Then you have like other varieties, and then you have like different sizes. So you gotta have like a. All right, here we go. Hey.
All right, cool. So, episode 8. We're knocking these out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. So I was wondering, for episode 8, I figured we'd go into when to plant, and I forgot the question. Let me look at the question real quick. One question: what's a good timeline to plant and transplant certain seeds?
Okay. All right. So first, before we even begin, we're talking about seeds. What I always tell people, going back to my rule of thumb, find out what you like to grow, and then just go all out. All right. And so when it comes to find out what you like to grow, you'll be amazed at the different varieties of things that you enjoy that come in different packages and just different flavors. So kind of like using this as my example. So tomatoes. Like, oh, yeah, I love tomatoes, right? But when you go into the store, what color is the tomato that you see, Blake?
Red.
That's
always
red, right? And you're like, no. But when you start to get into the seeds, you realize that tomatoes come in different colors, different sizes, and everything. And so first and foremost, you find out what interests you. So like this here, I actually have 4 different varieties of tomatoes that are planted, right? So I have like a sweetheart, which is like a reddish, purple boy, which is like a purple red color, lemon boy, yellow, better boy, red, right? So all of that to start with is like find out what you like and then be amazed at the varieties. Yeah. Like here in Southwest Georgia, I was raised like summertime is all about watermelon.
Yeah.
But when you go to the store, when you pick up a watermelon, what do you have?
Big green watermelon.
Big green watermelon. You cut the meat open inside. You open it up. It's red, right? But if you start growing on your own, you have like a yellow meat watermelon. You have this one here, which is like a tender sweet, which is an orange sort of meat colored watermelon. Then you have like other varieties, and then you have like different sizes. So you gotta have like a nice big slicer one. Then you have like what I call my personal favorite, like the sugar baby, which is like designed for you like to be able to eat this by yourself and keep it all to yourself. But so starting with your seed selection, it's all about finding out what you like. Then from there, we can kind of start talking about when to plant and the timeline to do it. So like my personal timeline, like I give to most people is, and I'm just going to kind of run down from like January to about April.
Okay.
So like in January is where I kind of started like my collards, my broccolis, my cauliflower, my kale, 1st of January. Then as I get into February, I start thinking about planting my pepper plants, my tomato plants, and then I also think about planting any herbs that I want to grow for like my summer garden. And the reason being like all 3 of those take a little bit longer for it to grow out, for it to be the right size that I need. Then as I get into March, I start thinking about, okay, what type of like sunflowers do I want to have growing? Do I start thinking about, do I want to do another round of like lettuce? If I want to have like some lettuce growing into my garden space, I start those from seed. And then we get into April, I'm all about like, man, I just need to have as many watermelon seeds planted as I can because everybody wants to have some watermelon growing in their backyard. They want to have some cantaloupe growing. And that's kind of like the plan like I use. So, and that's like my system. Now, why I do things the way that I do them is based upon the maturity date and the weather. So I do in January the seeds of the collards, the cabbages, the broccoli, and the kale because those are what we call cool season crops. Same thing with lettuce. Like they only really grow when the temperature stays below like 70 degrees. Like we just had like a heat spell that came through where we was up in the 80s. All of my collard plants, broccoli plants, everything flowered and started bolting, and it was basically like the harvest is done. I'm so used to still harvesting fresh collards through like March, but all that Mother Nature changed all of that a couple weeks ago. So I started those because once February comes, I can get that into the ground. They can continue growing out. So by the time April comes around, now I have like a fresh harvest of collards, broccoli, kale that's ready to go. But then I do lettuce, and when I plant the lettuce, I do it on a 2-week, 3-week sort of intervals. Because like when you think about when you have like a salad mix, if you eat salad regularly, you're gonna want some fresh salad like every week.
Yeah.
So you want something that you kind of continuously harvest and still be fresh. So I plant varieties that are like cut and come again varieties. So you cut them one time, then about 3 weeks later, you can come back and cut it again. And that's why I do like these little interval cycles of like a salad mix. And I'll do a whole video about that like I've done, showing like the seeds, but showing like a tray of just different salads. So that's what I do with that. And then once I get into like February, once those collards in the ground, broccoli in the ground, they're going to basically work itself out. And then what I do is focus in on my tomato plants and my pepper plants. And this is just half of the tomatoes like I planted. Like I think I did about 15 different varieties of tomatoes that I've already like started like in the greenhouse. And again, it's to show the diversity, to show the different shapes, to even do like a taste testing where people can be, like the old Pepsi Coke challenge, pick A, B, or C, which one you like, so people can see like the different varieties and get an idea of like the different flavors for your palate. And then like on the peppers, man, I think I'm at about 25 different varieties of peppers, from like your extremely hot ones.
Yeah.
I stayed away from the ghost peppers. I'm afraid to even touch those. But like your habaneros, always going back to your traditional like banana pepper, and your old like bell peppers in different colors, and even like I like to call them like your snack box size peppers. They're like really small, like pimentos and things like that variety. And so that's again February, just kind of introducing all of those and just working it out. And like I say, with most garden spaces, you want to incorporate flowers as much as you can into your planting for beneficial insects, but then also again like the color stuff up as well. As nothing stops somebody from coming by one of my garden spots than seeing like some sunflowers just growing, or like seeing some zinnias growing, or marigolds, just seeing that color, like they just stop and just like the look and like see. So I incorporate that into my planting rotation, and then like I say, I like to close it out with my melons. And that's like this is just a small taste. Like, it was up to me, if I had enough space, man, I probably had like 20 different watermelon varieties growing. But again, to show people the diversity, to show there's more for you to digest, to enjoy than what you might just see just going to your typical like grocery store and going through the produce aisle. I mean, imagine if you just had like a whole just table of like all these different varieties of tomatoes that you could like pick from and choose from. Like, imagine what type of like salsa you could make. Imagine what type of spaghetti sauce that you can make, that you can can and preserve, and the whole nine. And it's a beautiful thing like to do. And that's the thing about starting stuff from seed. It gives you more options. But again, it's all about planning. And what I do, again, like most of these seed packs, they kind of tell you like how many days it takes from harvesting. I tend to start things out like 5 to 6 weeks before I want to put it into the ground. So a lot of that sort of stuff is all based upon your last frost date. And a lot of that you can just type into like, hey, I'm in zone 8B. My last frost date tends to be around like March 20th. And that's when I kind of start to get my plans and stuff together for my summertime crops and things like that. And it's all about the weather pattern and just paying attention. But I'm a fan of starting most of it from seed. That way you at least have a baby plant that's established, and then you just drop it into the hole with your compost or into your raised bed, mix into your garden. And then most times within a month and a half to 2 months later, you're harvesting what you put into the ground. And that's what I like, especially working with kids, that you want something in 30 days, a month later, they can kind of see the fruits of their labor. Things like that.
So that's awesome. I'm gonna go start planting it right now.
Yeah, you should, man. We should like go to the greenhouse and get busy.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
I appreciate it.